Alexis Nunes joins us on ESPN's Football Forecast to talk about Ronaldo. It's a new thing. There's this player called Ronaldo. Apparently he's quite good. 117 goals in 191 appearances for Portugal. And he also likes doing interviews. Now, in the UK, it has been all over Twitter. It's all people can talk about because he has said several statements that have led me to do this face. Alexis, in Qatar, I'm sure it has to be the talk of the town. It always is when it comes to Ronaldo. But there's two ways that Ronaldo could be a problem for Portugal. On the pitch, tactically, which we'll dive into, but also, the attention and the environment. Now, there's always attention with Ronaldo, but this kind of attention with players within his squad as well being a little bit frosty. He's been calling out different players, been calling out his club side as well. So much talk about Ronaldo. Do you think that could hurt Portugal in terms of the environment of the squad? And what has been the reaction from the press out there?
I mean, the reaction, as you can imagine, there's a couple of media centers here that we do go into, and it's just press from all over the world. And you can bet that that's all they've been tuning into, because it is just, I think, wild to see a player speak so openly. And then much less it being, one of the two probably best players that we've ever seen, especially of our generation. But overall, in terms of him being a problem for Portugal, vibe-wise, off the pitch-wise, from what we have heard as well, and from the Portuguese camp, who have been doing the absolute most to deflect all Ronaldo questions that have to do with that interview, I think they'll be okay. Literally, they will be okay. So many of them have kind of come out and said, look, we're so used to any time we take the pitch, people are making it about Ronaldo. It's not something that's a foreign feeling to us. In terms of a lot of the fans that we've seen here, 95% of the Portugal jerseys we've seen are all Cristiano Ronaldo ones. We've spoken to a couple of them and they said, no, they're not bothered, whatever. They just view it as a Manchester United issue. But for country, he is their hero. He always has been. He probably always will be. And they know how much they want to rely on him. Of course, tactically, we know we get deep into it. But for the fans themselves, they do rely on him to hopefully bring them, glory. Believe it or not, they are being discussed as to being in that final potentially. Like I said, we've spoken to our own Pablo Zabaleta, and he has actually picked an Argentina-Portugal final on our ESPN FC show. He picked Argentina-Portugal for the final. It will be a final that I think will break the internet and the universe. Messi and Ronaldo in their final World Cups going at it. But such is the belief, and he's put it down solely on what Cristiano Ronaldo can do and inspire for his country. And now that, again, we talked about Argentina having a very talented generation, this is also a very talented Portugal team too, that we can pick out a couple more names as well that on their own, they are stars, in their own rights, and don't have to just solely depend on Ronaldo, whereas we have seen them have to do in teams in the past. And even then we've seen what Portugal can do. So, Cristiano is just obviously such a massive icon, both was, I guess we could say, for club, for Manchester United fans, but for country, he's one that I think it's going to take a lot more than this interview to really, I suppose, make them view him as more of a harm than something good that they are going to need for this World Cup.
That is interesting to hear what it's like over there, because I think sort of the vibrations around here is that, this is a huge mistake that he's made, and he's upset a lot of Man United fans. In the Bet365 survey, when it comes to on the pitch and if Ronaldo could be a problem there, of course, he scored so many goals for Portugal, but that feeling of Man United and him maybe coming to the end there and actually the team being better despite the amount of goals that he scored, that similar feeling has made its way to this Portugal side. But in the Bet365 fan survey, actually 43.72% said that their most feared player when it comes to all World Cup fans is Ronaldo. Messi was, of course, first. On the pitch then, Debade, do you think that Ronaldo, and often the thing that's thrown at him is that lack of pressing, do you think that could hurt Portugal in any way, shape or form?
Well, the thing is, Ten Hag plays pressing football. Fernando Santos does not.
No.
And so the whole team is built around Ronaldo. The idea is that how do we get the ball?
But should it be with the score with such depth?
The reality actually is that he is a fox in the box, and if the ball is in the box, there's a reason people fear him, because he will score goals. And I do feel like Ronaldo has put this interview out at a time where no one's really talking about him before the World Cup, and now everyone's talking about him before the World Cup. And if there's one thing this guy loves is press and media and pressure for most is joy for him. And I think he comes into this going, well, I basically run this side. Fernando Santos will just do whatever I say anyway, which we've seen. We've literally seen it happen. Bernardo Silva and all these other guys will feed me. And then that will kind of lead in the end to Ronaldo having a blast of a tournament. Probably. That's how I think it could play out. My thing is, though, Alexis, is you've got players like Bernardo Silva in the form of his life, who you could easily build a team around. You've got Bruno Fernandes in that side, who has played off the right for Ten Hag, but there's another player in there that you could build your team around. I think Portugal have the most options in midfield, and if they were an exciting team, they could actually play good football without Ronaldo. Is this a case of they have to play this way because of Ronaldo?
You know, that is the interesting one, because I think everybody now is looking to see how they're going to field. But I think it, like I was saying, one of the other things when we have spoken to a couple of fans and locals from Portugal that have started filing in here is that, you know, can they do it without Ronaldo? If they feel like all of this is going to cast a shadow over him, will the team be okay? And they kept saying yes. They kept saying this is the most talented generation we've had in a hot minute, you know, and the fact that we still have Cristiano Ronaldo, they said they don't care. He could be 50 years old for all they care. They just still view him as a bonus. They said, finally, we have a good team without Ronaldo that can go deep in this tournament. And the fact that you can throw him in or take him out, I think it's just it's a massive bonus. It's amazing to see that. And like I said, perspective is such a special thing, because nobody here really is viewing him as a problem. I mean, it's something special, because they've completely been able to separate the two and just view this as a Manchester United issue, as a time that he's obviously disappointed with how things are being run at the club, a club that he loves so much. And now they're questioning his love for the club. But one thing they'll never question is his love for his country. It is where he's from. So many people were saying, well, if he can't go back to Manchester United, who in the world is going to take him? Will MLS play for him? And these Portuguese fans told me he can always come home because Sporting will take him. And that's the thing. There's no place like home. And Cristiano knows that. Exactly. They'll take him. I don't know if they can afford him at the moment, but they will take him, and maybe he will take a pay cut for them, because like we said, for his country, he's still very much the man, and it's going to take so much for him to probably change their opinion in that one. And I hope he definitely doesn't, because Lord knows he needs to do some damage control.
Alexis, you mentioned that Portuguese fans would still accept Ronaldo at 50 years old. There is a lot of indication that this might be his last World Cup, but again, it might not be his last World Cup. We know about how in shape he keeps himself, and he's got that hunger and desire. I think that's maybe led him to do this interview that's exploded, in terms of he wants this so badly and he's not letting go of it. So I don't believe this is his last World Cup. Obviously, it's set up so perfectly, and Zabaleta could be right in the fact that we could see a Messi versus Ronaldo World Cup final. I think we'd all love to see that. But I think it's insane to suggest that this Portugal team will be better off about a man who scored over 100 international goals for them. I want to get like the general sense and feeling from not just the Portuguese fans out there, but the Portuguese players as well. Is Ronaldo, we know about the Bruno Fernandes situation when he arrived at camp, and people made a lot about that frosty reception. Is there any sense of disharmony amongst this Portuguese squad?
Do you know, for the most part, from what we've seen, they had that training session. We were at the France training session at the same time. But from what we've heard from our colleagues, like you genuinely don't get that. I think whether they're hiding the truth so well or not, but as Bruno has come out and said as well, that it was a joke. They obviously speak in Portuguese, and maybe it's not picked up, and they're acting, and they have bants, they have sarcastic bants too, they said, and that he basically was suggesting that we, the media, are reading way too much into the situation. At the very least, this is someone that they're used to. You want to call Cristiano what you want. If you want to call him a diva, you know, I think personally, in my opinion, he's probably earned the right to be. He is Cristiano Ronaldo. I forever think, I mean, we will take him on Jamaica if he ever wants to come. If he has no place in the world to go, Cristiano, you can come to Jamaica. But I think he will always be, for me, a bonus on a team. The fact that you could call on someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, I don't care if he's 50 years old or not, I think that can be a bonus. It just depends on having the manager that knows how to use him. And of course, depends on if he sees eye to eye with said managers. But I think for the most part, the Portugal camp, in my heart, something tells me that there is probably a bit more there, that I'm sure this interview would have rubbed people a certain way or made them think, geez, if he's going to lash out at United players, what would he say about us if we don't pull up our socks in this tournament, you know? But I think they know him quite well, which is what they've said. And as much as I was talking about Pogba and his his personality in the dressing room, that is what they talk about Cristiano. He has always been that leader. He's always been that person that doesn't stop talking to them, that doesn't keep reminding them about what they're doing, why they're doing this. Like I said, a Pogba for France is different from a club Pogba, and a Ronaldo for Portugal is different from a club Ronaldo as well. And I think that they still view that as more of a bonus and as a strength than we are viewing it right now.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.